All right, get ready. Get ready for the craziness. All right, let's try to do. I won't do a joke since the last one was long. Uh, and so we'll say, all right, so now we're on the fourth. Now, I've named this the sixth note away, and it says D5, which stands for diminished fifth. But that's just because my Excel worksheet is pulling in that information from a formula. You could call that, it's still 6 notes away, but we need a fourth. So we could name the same distance of 6 notes away as an augmented fourth. That's where the beauty and the problems come in from the Western naming structure. It's pretty cool because you can it has a lot of good features, but it also results in all these 2 names for one thing stuff, which is a little strange, right? It's a little weird. But so I'm going to say I'm going to leave it as a diminished fifth, but remember, in the context of Lydian, we should be calling it an augmented fourth. Diminished means we just backed it down 1. So if it was a fifth, it would be 7 notes away, perfect fifth. But if I flatten it, 6 note away, diminished fifth. If it was a fourth, then it would typically be a 5 note away, perfect fourth. If I push it up 1, I get to 6, which would be an augmented fourth. All right, and then on the chord construction, it's an even number, so I also have weirdness happening here because when I build a chord, I go 1, 3, 5, and then 7. That's the last note in the alphabet. And then we go around to the 9, which is equivalent to the 2 that we skipped. And then we go to the 11, which is equivalent to the 4. So then I can call this a 6 note away augmented fourth, or a 6 note away augmented 11th. The other thing that's funny here is notice that if it's 6 notes away, that means that it's exactly half the distance. In other words, if I took the musical alphabet, if I went from F to G to the fret 1 through 12, fret 1 through 12, fret 1 through 12 on any of these, on any string, that's the entire musical alphabet of 12 notes. If I wrapped it around in a circle, then if I go clockwise around the circle or counterclockwise around the circle, 6 notes away will be exactly halfway around the circle, right? So that means that there is no, like with the perfect first, where if I went clockwise around the circle 12 steps or counterclockwise around the circles 12 steps, I'd be back at the same spot. Similarly, if I go clockwise around the circle 6 steps or counterclockwise around the circle 6 steps, I will be on the same spot exactly on the opposite side of the track, as far away from the root as possible if we think of it as a circle, right? All right, so that's kind of interesting. That means we don't really have to deal with inverse distances. It's always going to be 6 notes away, whether I'm above the note or below the note. One more thing of note here, and that is that the diminished or the augmented fourth is the funny interval. That's the interval that is really tension-y sounding. That's actually the interval that makes Locrian mode crazy. You know how the Locrian, when we build a chord, it has the diminished fifth. The diminished fifth is this same interval, right? So in other words, when we think of the modes, remember we're thinking that the normal modes are the major modes, and then the minor modes, and then the Locrian is crazy. We don't really play it or play in Locrian a lot, right? Why not? What makes it crazy? Well, it has a minor third, which is normal to a minor mode, but it has the diminished fifth. That's what makes it crazy. But the Lydian actually also has that crazy interval. It's just not called the flat 5. It's not because but it still has it. It's the augmented fourth. So that's why so I would say the second craziest interval that no one really says is crazy, because it's in like the Hollywood family. It's in like the family of more upper class. I don't know, or they're in the cool group, so no one calls them crazy, even though they have the same crazy interval. It's like Hunter Biden, right? For a long time they're like, dude, the guy's totally not crazy. He's on the level, man. He's on the level. and it's just because he's in like the family where everybody knows he's crazy, but they still can kind of push that he's not crazy, you know. Whereas like if he wasn't in that family, people would be like, dude, that guy's crazy, you know what I mean? That's what it's like, I feel like. Anyways, so let's do this. All right, 6 notes away. So if I'm going to be here, we can count up 6, which is going to be basically just out of reach usually. But if I go up forward, because it's higher on the guitar, we can usually reach it possibly up on this high in the guitar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So boom. So if I go from here to here, boom. See how the tension? Boom. All right. Let's go above it. If I go above it, usually we'd have to look for the inverse distance. The 12 minus 6 is still 6. So it's 6 notes away. So I go above the fault line, it's going to be 5, -5, and 6. There it is right there. There's the Locrian. So it's going to be -5 and 6. So if I went from top to bottom, it's going to be also 6 note away, which could be an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th. And if I go from bottom to top, also 6 notes away, which you can call an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th. But notice if I go from top to bottom, I'm thinking about the B as the root. So it would be a diminished from the point of view of the B. If I go from bottom to top, I'm thinking as F as the root. So it's still an augmented 4th or diminished 5th, but it would be an F augmented 4th or diminished 5th. If I look at it from this perspective of the B as my tonic, it would be a B augmented 4th or diminished 5th. All right, let's go up. So that means that if I go up 1 string, the augmented 4th, which could also be called the diminished 5th, or could also be called the 6 note away augmented 11th, is going to be 2 strings back if I cross the fault line. But I normally wouldn't cross the fault line. Like if I was here, I wouldn't cross the fault line. And like if I was like, let's put this color here, that's what I've normally been doing. If I was up here, I totally wouldn't be crossing the fault line. So normally, that's the shape we're normally used to for that really tensiony shape. It's in the box, what I call the box, the house. So that means, so normally, if I go up 1 string, the augmented 4th, 6 note away augmented 4th or 6 note away augmented 11th will be 1 string back unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the B string, in which case if I go up 1 string and cross the fault line, the 6 note away augmented 4th or 6 note away augmented 11th will be 2 strings back in that case. All right, let's go up another string. Got to pick up the pace. This is pulling too much time. This is ridiculous. What is this? Like a 12-hour long thing? And let's see. Don't worry, people. I pull everything together in the end. I pulled all the threads get sewn together in the 11th hour. Unfortunately, everybody falls asleep before the 1st hour, so no one sees it, how it all comes together like that. But still, I still think the fact that I pull it all together in the 11th hour still counts for something. Anyways, let's go up 2 strings and say we're looking for the 6 note away augmented 5th or 6 note away augmented 11th. So distance, 6 notes. It's going to be -5, -10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So boom. So if I start from here, this is going to be -5, -10, and then 9, 8, 7, 6. Whoa, wrong way. -5, -10, -5, -10, 9, 8, 7, 6. There it is. So if I go top to bottom, 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th, bottom to top, also 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th. But if I go from top to bottom, it's a 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th with the B as the root. If I go from bottom to top, it's still a 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th from the F as the root. So looking at the perspective of the F and the fact that it's an augmented 4th in the Lydian mode, if I go up 2 strings, then the augmented 4 and cross the fault line, the augmented 4th will be 1, 2, 3 frets forward. But I wouldn't always cross the fault line. Like if I was on these 2 strings, I wouldn't cross the fault line. So like if I was on like this F, then it would be here. So normally the rule would be if I go up 2 strings, the 6 note away augmented 4th, which could also be called the 6 note away augmented 11th, will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B and the bottom E string, in which case if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 6 note away augmented 4th, which could also be called the 6 note away diminished 5th or the 6 note away augmented 11th, will be 1, 2, 3 frets forward. 1, 2, 3 makes perfect. I think that made sense. All right, let's go up to the next one. Otra vez. Otra vez. Do it again. Do it again. We're going to go 6 note away, diminished 5th. All we have to do is have a distance of 6. It's going to be -5, -10, -15. There's only 12 notes in the musical alphabet. 15 minus 12 is -3, -3, -4, -5, -6. So let's do that from here. -5, -10, -15. 15 minus 12 is -3, -4, 5, and 6. So top to bottom would be a 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th from the perspective of the B. Bottom to top, also a 6 note away augmented 4th or diminished 5th from the perspective of the F as the root. So that means if I go up 1, 2, 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 6 note away augmented 4th will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back. I wouldn't cross the fault line if I started on the F on the G string. So if I was on this F that's on that G string, then I would be going up. If I went up and then I go up 3 strings, it would be here. So the normal rule would be if I go up 3 strings, the 6 note away augmented 4th, which could also be called the 6 note away augmented 11th, will be 3 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the D and the E string, in which case if I go up 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 6 note away augmented 4th, which could also be called the 6 note away augmented 11th, will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back in that case. Back, 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 baby. 4 backs. 4 backs. I don't even call it 4 backs. I just say back, 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 baby. Back, 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 baby. All right, let's go up to the next one. Now, if I go up to the top one, you might go to the bottom one and say if the top and bottom strings are the same, it'd be easier to go below it. If I go below it, I don't have to take the inverse distance, which I don't need to do anyways because the inverse is the same. So it'd be 5 right below it and then 6. If it's a B here, it's a B up top. So let's count it up top though, just to do our practice with it. -5, -10, -15. 15 minus 12 is -3 plus another 8 plus another 5 is -8, -7, -6. Let's count it out from here. Otra vez. -5, -10, -15. 15 minus 12 is -3. 3 plus another 5 is 8. And then that's 8. Wait a second. No, 7 and then 6. There it is. Okay. Here. So top to bottom would be a 6 note away diminished 5th or 6 note away augmented 4th from the perspective of the B as the root. Bottom to top would also be a 6 note away diminished 5th or 6 note away augmented 4th from the perspective of the F as the root. So that means from the perspective of the F, if I go up 4 strings, I will always cross the fault line, and therefore the 6 note away augmented 4th, which could also be called the 6 note away augmented 11th, which has the same distance of a 6 note away diminished 5th, will always be 1 fret forward. All right, let's go down below it. So if I go below it, once again, I don't have to take the inverse because it's always 6 notes away because it's halfway around the circle. Inverse is the same distance, so it's going to be 5 and then 6. So 5 and then 6, so 5 down and then 6, top to bottom is, wait a sec, is that right? No, that's not right. What are you doing? Wrong way, dude. That's not tension. There's no tension in that. It's 5 and then 6 going that way. Idiot. Hey, look, it's been like 5 hours here I've been doing this, all right? No need to get critical at this point, for crying out loud. I'd like to see you do this for 5 hours. See if you pull. Anyways, let's go. It's going to be -5 and 6. So that means that if I go down one string, the 6-note away the 6-note away augmented fourth, which could also be called the 6-note away augmented 11th, which has the same distance as the 6-note away diminished fifth, will be 1 fret forward unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the G string. So if I was on this F, for example, then it would be out here. So the rule is the 6-note away augmented fourth, which could also be called the 6-note away augmented 11th, which has the same distance as a 6-note away diminished fifth, will be 1 fret forward when I go down one string, unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the G string, in which case, if I go down one string, the 6 and cross the fault line, the 6-note away augmented fourth, which could also be called the 6-note away augmented 11th, which has the same distance as the 6-note away diminished fifth, would be 2 frets forward. Makes perfect sense.